Hello and welcome. Brett here with ClickMill.co. Okay, so in this video, we're going to be talking about assessing the sustainability of the incentives package you're putting together. Okay, now in one of the early strategy courses, and I don't remember exactly which one it is, we talk about the process of growth. Okay, so the first thing is you have to have the right mindset. The second thing is you have to understand strategy and you have to have a strategy, meaning you need a vision, you need values, you need to know where you're going. You have to have an action plan to get there to this distant place that God is calling you and the people you're leading into the future. You got to have a strategy to get there. Okay. So we have to have strategy. Then we have to be sustainable. This is something that a lot of, Christians miss, a lot of everybody misses is you can't just go and start spending thousands and thousands of dollars a day to get there. You don't have thousands of dollars a day. You can spend like a nickel a day, especially if you're starting out and you don't have any funding, like all this stuff. So you have to be sustainable. And this is where we, see the scripture always can, if you're building a tower, consider the cost. Because, if you get halfway through building a tower and you run out of bricks, everybody's going to laugh at you and, think you're a fool. Like it's basically what the passage says. So, we want to consider the cost. Can I get to the place that God is calling me if I'm moving this quickly or expending this amount of resources? And if the answer is no, because you're thinking in your head into the future, wait, hold on. Wait, $1,000 a day. I have $500. I'm going to make it 12 hours. I can't do that. Oh, okay. So I can spend a nickel a day. I can make it if I could spend a nickel a day. Okay. So let's talk about some of the incentives we might be offering and how sustainable they are. Okay, so the first one that people go to is cash. I'm going to hire them. I'm going to pay them to do the thing. And this is usually the last incentive you should go to. A lot of ministries and ministry leaders that I talk with and business owners I talk to are like, well, I don't really know how to do it. I'm just going to pay someone to do it. Even if you can pay them to do it, that is usually a bad call because you don't know what that job is. You don't know what it entails. You don't know if they're doing it right. So you're paying money and you're just hoping things work out. So that's usually not the best start. You really want to know how to do it. A little bit of a different point. But usually when you start, cash is tight. So spending money is not sustainable. So hiring someone, like I have to think about this here at ClickMill, we're doing well. And also, I can't just go hire every single person that I'd love to hire because, we'd run out of money real quick. So, money is the first thing that is often unsustainable over the long run for a ministry. So, when we assess the incentive structure, can we sustain the things we would like to offer over a long period of time? And if the answer is no, you have to remove it. There's no option. Okay. Now, what about something else that's very incentivizing? Purpose or vision. Okay. That's free. If you know how to communicate purpose or vision, it's something I'm actually working on because I think pretty much everybody in this room, I think everybody in this room is moving in the same direction. We're wanting to lift up the people around us. We want to see fruit in our lives for like in a biblical sort of way. We want to see people growing. We want to see the love that we're offering people overcome a multitude of sins and break people out of struggles and whatever it is. We're starting ministries, you're trying to have businesses that positively affect your communities. We all are trying to um, create godly fruit in our communities and in our families and in our lives. Okay, so why wouldn't you want to be there if you have that vision? That's free. All you got to do is say it, and say it a lot. And one of the things that I've noticed based on some of the feedback that some of you have given me is that's actually really impactful. And some of you have told me that since you're here with ClickMill, you're actually rethinking your own vision. You're actually considering, where is it that I'm going? What am I doing these things for? Because I was kind of maybe more of a nominal Christian, like I just kind of go to church, but now I'm feeling more driven and more passionate. Okay, well, cool. That's what it happens when you have a vision. It gets other people excited about your vision and that becomes their vision. And that's the goal here. And vision is free. If you feel like God's telling you to go in a direction, tell everybody the direction he's telling you to go in, and everybody who jumps on the train with you is with you. And then they're excited about it because it's bigger than, what I'm trying to do is bigger than me. I can't reach all the ministry leaders and help all of the people get strategies that will give them fruitful ministries in their lives. I can't do that. There's too many people. So what do I need to do? I got to teach you guys how to do it. God gave me some really nerdy information that can be very, very fruitful and effective. And I got to give it to other people so they can go out and do it because I can't do it by myself. So we can get passionate about vision together, and that is infinitely sustainable. It doesn't matter if there's just me, which it has been, it was for a long time, or if there's 1,000 of us, or if there's 50,000 people on the course, which, at this rate might even be a reality. It doesn't matter because vision just goes as long as you say it. People either take it or they don't. So that costs nothing. Okay, now the next thing is time. Time is not a very sustainable solution. Okay, now time, for example, why are we all on a big call here, two back-to-back calls? Because I initially had individual calls with interns, which was great when there were like two, and then there were three, and then there were four, and then it's like, oh, hold on a second here. I don't actually have time to finish the work on a lot of these accounts now. Now we all need to come and just be in the same call. I have to consolidate the time. And I noticed I was saying a lot of the same things over and over anyway. So the time, as the system scaled, the time was no longer sustainable. It was at first, and then it wasn't. So I had to come up with a new structure that didn't de-incentivize and make me lose because I no longer could run the business because I was out of time. Okay, so you can rework the system to continue to enable it as well. So you don't have to just cut it out. Okay, because of course I wouldn't want to give you guys no time. Okay, so another thing that can be incentivizing is skills acquisition, discipleship. What are you guys doing here? You're developing skills because there's something you want to do for the kingdom. There's something you want to accomplish. Okay, well, in ministry, we call it volunteering. And what is volunteering? You come over here and you do this thing for me, and I'm going to go over there and thanks. And I've literally been in ministries where they're like, how do we even thank volunteers? We don't know. And then they did like this meal at the end of the year to thank their volunteers. And it's like, I don't really want them. I can just go to a meal anytime I want. I was in this meal, by the way. But you know who put the meal on? Like the volunteers made their own meal so that it was really unusual. And all of that to say is that what do people want? If you're volunteering at a church, what do you want to be? You want to be the pastor. And I don't mean that like you want his job. I mean, you want to disciple under the pastor and become someone who is more like that person. So when we volunteer and you're stuck on trash duty for 6 months, what is that? Well, hey, we're going to work on humility, and you can build that character and then move them to something else, have them grow in another way, right? With pastors, and I've been talking to pastors about this. Some of them have figured this out, but it's like, listen, if you just opened up your day and you said, I'm going to take the top 5 students in our student ministry who are the most committed, and here's how I know, and I'm going to get recommendations from the youth pastor. I'm going to take the top 5, and they're going to follow me around 20 hours a week, and I'm going to teach you how to be a pastor. Number one, there'd be way more pastors, thank God. And number two, after he teaches them how to do that, he can then give them work. It's supposed to take like 20 to 40 hours to write a really good sermon. I went to school for this. And he could say, here's how to write a sermon. Watch me write a sermon. What do you think I should do on this sermon? And then train them. Here's how to write sermons. And you do that for 6 weeks. You do that for 90 days. They're going to know how to write a sermon. And then you can give them preaching weeks. And what did he just save? 20 hours a week, 40 hours a week, training the next generation. That's a win-win. Okay, so skills acquisition. If someone is wanting to volunteer, it's because they want to become the thing that they're volunteering in. And so volunteers should be disciples. That's why I would call it an internship at church, because an intern is someone who studies under someone who knows how to do a thing. What is that? It's a disciple. It's the same thing. And so if you were to take that model and go put it into church, you'd actually have a more biblical model of churches. Volunteers weren't a thing in the New Testament. There were disciples. And then we teach them how to be us. That's what my mentor does to me. He teaches me how to live like he does, and he knows more than I do. Forgive me. And he knows more than I do because he's 10 years further down the road. He's been in business 10 years longer. He's been married 10 years longer. He's 10 years ahead of everything. And I can just skip it because I can just ask him, what about this? And then he'll say, oh, okay, here, just do this. And now I know. Okay, so I disciple under him. Okay, what else? Incentive sustainability. We already talked about money. Future reward. Okay, the promise of future reward. Well, what am I trying to do? I'm giving you lots of benefits because let's say you're here in this internship program, but what's the goal? It's not going to stop. What's the goal is to set up a future where you guys are making the difference you want to make. You know, can I guarantee that? No. I mean, some people quit and, you know, other people, I mean, I guess you really can guarantee it as long as you don't stop, but you know, like I can't guarantee you're going to get there, but I can certainly help you. And future reward is a huge motivating factor. So to the degree that you can offer a future reward to the people that God has put in your life, and you can say, no, we're to the best of my ability, I'm going to help you get to this place, whatever it is, they're going to be there. Who else is doing that? Nobody's going to help them do that. So you're the only person helping them accomplish a future that they want. Okay. And in this case, we're talking ministry and career. Okay. So lastly is credibility. These are just some that I wrote down. These is not the whole list. I'm sure there are more, but credibility. Okay. If we want to go out and I want to get a client, they're going to be like, well, why should I hire you? It's like, well, I'm really good at it. How do I know I'm credible? Well, how? How do we know you're credible? Well, here's my portfolio and here's how many things I've ranked on Google. I've been published on these sites. Oh, wow, wow. Well, where do you get that? You got to get that somewhere. Well, we'll give it to you, right? You want to be a pastor? You want to go over there and speak at that church? Come speak at our church. Come intern, train under us for a couple years, and then you can say, yeah, oh yeah, I spoke quarterly over at that church over there. I trained under the pastor. Here's, oh yeah, here's his reference. You can set these sort of credibility indicators up for people who are with you. And again, that's church. It can be different. It can be for kids. Incentive systems for kids can be sticker charts. My kids have coins and they earn these little plastic gold coins that cost me like $2. And they think they're gold, you know, because it buys them all the things that they love. And that stuff costs me nothing too. I buy the book and then they just get to use the book or whatever. So, so with this, we have to make sure that whatever incentive systems and the things in our incentive structure are scalable as we continue. Okay, so we can actually sustain that over time as it is. And lastly, it's best. Let me rephrase. It's often the case that people think that incentives have to cost you something, and that is not true at all. Everybody's always like, well, gosh, this must be really expensive. If you get something you value, you think it's expensive. Except that's just false. It's not, it doesn't have to be expensive. I'm getting something I value. All of you guys are here. You're learning how to have fruitful ministry. Well, that's valuable to me, but you're also coming in and you're doing real work, which is way more valuable to me. That's huge. Well, gosh, oh my goodness, what would I have to give in order to, and it's like it must cost something huge, money, and that's why we always go to money because that's valuable. How could I give something that's, I don't have to give something that hurts me, that takes away from me if I know what you want. And it doesn't cost me anything to give vision. It doesn't cost me, like, I believe it. It doesn't cost anything for me to give my time when you guys are on the back end practicing and doing work. That's even, that literally is great. It doesn't cost me anything to teach you guys the skills that I have. I'm already good at teaching. Like that's just a gift I have. I love doing it. So that's actually a positive. And secondly, I got to do the work anyway. Why not just do the work and show you while I do it? So that doesn't really cost me anything. And then in the future, you're trained and you help me with it. So you get your own stuff set up. You know, future reward. You already know what the future reward is. It doesn't cost me anything to try to do my best and help you get that. Like what? I fill out an application. I send in a referral once in a while. Like that's totally fine. Is that worth 500 hours for an intern? Of course it is. Credibility. This is the biggest joke ever. I say this because it's really funny because all these job titles and all this stuff, it's totally made up. You know, if you guys come here, you can have whatever title you want as long as you can honestly back it up, and we'll make it sound so good it's ridiculous. Credibility, I've been published over on clickmill.co. They get over 50,000 hits a month. It's like, ooh, you know, and and it's real. So you talk about credibility, we can work and make you credible, and you can do that for the people who are with you too. And as long as you're respected and you say that they're credible, they'll be credible. So you have to be honest, but also you can go over the top and you can make them really look credible. And that costs nothing. That's just fun. So these are some of the things that you want to look at when you're looking at sustainability. Does it cost you more than you can spend to incentivize the system properly? Okay. So lastly here, in earlier today, we were looking at putting a gamification system on the course platform. Cost me like $100 to get this plugin for a year. Actually, no, the plugin's free. It has a $200 thing, and I'm trying it for free, and it's unlimited for free. If it works, awesome. Maybe we'll buy it. And if it doesn't, it's cost me nothing. And little badges cost nothing. So again, we're looking at how do we get the increase without overdoing the downside. Okay. So there's always, how do you say this? The upside is larger than the downside so that we're sustainable over time. As long as your upside is always larger than your downside, you will always grow. Okay. So that is kind of a list in this video, a little bit longer. How to make sure your incentives are sustainable over time. Do you guys have any thoughts or questions or connections, anything you want to say there?
I think if our vision and value and the overall things we do are consistent, then there will be no problem with that. I mean, if we are consistent with everything we do and our vision, our goals, to everything we do on a daily basis, then everything will be just, I would say it like flowing
Awesome.
without any issues.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Anyone else thoughts on making sure our um, the incentive structures we set up are sustainable over time? Okay. All right. Well, in the next video, we're going to talk about incentive structures and growth, because at some point you're going to start growing when you set this up right, and you need to be ready for that because oftentimes that can be a challenge. So I'll see you in the next video. God bless.